They had pushed the table closer to the window because my grandmother liked the light. It wasn't about warmth. She was always cold, but about seeing faces clearly. I can't hear what I can't see, she used to say, tapping the side of her glasses. So the table was crowded in a way that forced intimacy. Knees touched. Elbows collided. Plates overlapped. Money was everywhere without being named. New phones on the table. My brother's watch catching the sun. The casual way my mother talked about when tuition comes due. Like a tide she didn't control but trusted. I had funded 3 college accounts. 2 for my brother's kids, 1 for my cousin's son after his divorce gutted him. It wasn't secret, exactly. It just hadn't been discussed lately, the way oxygen isn't discussed until the room changes. My niece said it while reaching for a roll. No malice in her voice, no hesitation, either. She thinks she's special because she's childless and rich. She didn't even look at me. She was watching the butter slide. My mother laughed. Not a polite laugh. The kind that escapes you before you can shape it. She laughed until her eyes watered and she pressed her napkin to her mouth like she was embarrassed by her own joy. Someone said, "Kids." Fondly. Someone else said, "She's not wrong." I felt my grandmother's hand on my forearm. A light pressure. A question without words. I didn't say anything. I noticed the way the room rearranged itself in that small pause. How my brother leaned back. How my mother wiped her eyes. How the comment settled into the table like it belonged there. I stood up. Chairs scraped. A fork clinked against a plate. I leaned down and kissed my grandmother's cheek. She smelled like rose soap and laundry starch. "I'll call you tomorrow," I said. I meant it. Then I left. No one followed me. No one asked where I was going. The door closed behind me with a softness that felt deliberate, like the house was trained not to react. That night, I slept badly. Not because I was angry. Anger would have been easier. But because I kept replaying the sound of my mother's laughter, the ease of it. The assumption folded into it that what I provided was ambient, unearned by me, inevitable for them. In the morning, I made coffee and opened my laptop. The accounts were bookmarked. I hadn't looked at them in months. Contributions had gone out on schedule, like apologies I never had to write. I didn't drain them. That would have been theatrical. Instead, I moved the funds back to my primary account, flagged the transfers with notes that would make sense to a third-party restructuring. Revaluation. Pending agreements. The authority arrived the way authority usually does, quietly, professionally. A call from my bank to confirm identity. A brief hold. A confirmation number read back to me twice. No raised voices. No moral framing. Just procedure. By noon, the balances read 0. My phone began to vibrate around 1. First my brother. Then my mother. Then a group text with too many people in it. "Is there a mistake? Did the bank mess up? This isn't funny. We need to talk?" I finished my coffee. I went for a walk. I waited until my pulse felt normal again. Not calm, exactly, but steady. Then I sent one message individually, not to the group. "There's no mistake. I'm happy to discuss expectations and terms at a later time." No explanation. No apology. No accusation. My brother called. I didn't answer. He left a message that started confused and ended sharp. My mother texted paragraphs that swung between hurt and indignation. She reminded me of sacrifices she had made. She asked how I could do this to family. I thought about my grandmother's hand on my arm, about the way she had looked at me, not startled, not approving, just present. In the afternoon, my niece's mother, my brother's ex, texted me privately. She didn't accuse. She asked if everything was okay. She said she understood if I needed time. I replied to her first. I told her the accounts weren't gone, just paused, that I wanted clarity, that I wouldn't fund contempt. The word felt heavy but accurate. That evening, I called my grandmother. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "People get used to what doesn't ask anything of them." "I don't want to punish anyone," I said. "I know," she said. "You want to be seen." That night, my brother showed up at my place. He didn't knock the way he used to. He stood too close to the door when I opened it, as if proximity might replace permission. "You embarrassed us," he said. "I didn't say anything," I said. "You didn't have to," he said. "Everyone knows what this means." He wanted me to say it was about the comment. He wanted a villain he could correct. I didn't give him one. "It means I'm not an automatic," I said. "It means I want agreements." He laughed, short and incredulous. "They're kids. Kids grow," I said. "So do assumptions." He left angry, not dramatic, just certain he was right. Weeks passed. The noise softened into occasional pings. My mother tried a different tactic, warmth, then nostalgia, then quiet disappointment. I stayed consistent. I asked for a meeting with a financial advisor present. I outlined what I would fund and what I wouldn't. Respect wasn't a feeling in the document. It was behavior, communication, boundaries. Some didn't respond. One did. My niece sent an email. Not an apology exactly, more an awkward accounting of what she'd heard, what she'd thought was normal to say. She asked questions that suggested curiosity rather than defense. I replied carefully. I told her money amplifies what's already there. I told her I wasn't offended. I was finished being invisible. The accounts remain empty technically. The funds sit elsewhere, earmarked but not promised. The power isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. At the next family gathering, I wasn't invited. My grandmother came to my place instead. We sat by the window. She asked me about my work. She told me about her neighbor's cat. We didn't talk about money. Before she left, she squeezed my hand. You didn't leave angry, she said. That matters. I don't know how this ends. Maybe the accounts refill under new terms. Maybe they don't. What I know is this: when I stood up from that table, something corrected itself. Not the family, me. And for now, that's enough.